Hi Solomon, can you hear me? If yes, please drop a yes message in the chat box. The chat is active for you. Solomon, can you hear me? Hello everyone. If I'm audible, please drop a yes message in the chat box so we can start the proceedings. Please drop a yes message so I can understand you are able to hear me and we can start the process. No, Solomon, the program has not yet started. We'll start at 7 p.m. sharp, which is around 10 minutes away from the current time. If I am audible, please drop a yes message. Hello, Ritupana. Can you hear us?
Hi, Sahil. Yes, I can.
Yeah, we'll start the session in the next 7 minutes from now.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Within
Hello everyone and welcome to today's extraordinary session on mastering your GRE verbal section and getting insights from an ETS official trainer. So before we get started, I just wanted to get a couple of updates from you, whether my voice is audible to you or not. If I am audible to you, please drop a yes message in the chat box so I understand you are able to hear us and we can proceed further. I request everyone to reply in the chat box so I can understand you guys can hear me. Okay. Okay. So Aryan says yes. Okay. Okay. I see a lot of yeses coming in. So without wasting any further ado, let's get started. So what we do basically, who are we? Galvanize Global Education provides end-to-end personalized solution for students and working professionals aspiring to pursue a global degree abroad. We write from your test preparations to admission counseling and visa counseling. Galvanize is your one-stop shop for all your higher education needs. Galvanize Global Education is managed and founded by alumni of Stanford, IIT Madras, and IIM Ahmedabad. The students from 65 plus countries have chosen Galvanize for their degree abroad journey. You can see the countries from where and all our students are preparing with us. It's from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Singapore, Malaysia. You see the things? Yeah. We have enabled our students to reach 1,000 plus universities across 18 plus countries. USA, UK, Canada, Australia. You tell the name and we are ready to help you out over there. So we have a global reach of 1 million plus database where people have downloaded our mobile apps and used it from 195 plus countries and a global rating of 4.7 out of 5. So meet your host today, Rutuparna Mahapratap. She is an official GRE and TOEFL Master Trainer with 7 years of experience in education and training. She has worked with organizations such as Manya, Integrate, and Unacademy. Currently, she is training assistant manager at ETS India and oversees the training vertical and ensures high standards in our programs. Her expertise lies in GRE and TOEFL preparation, curriculum development, and leveraging digital platform for effective teaching. So, without wasting any further ado, I'll hand over the stage to Rutuparna.
Thank you, Sahil. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rituparna, and I represent ETS India as your Assistant Manager Training. I will be taking this session for all of you, which is going to be on the GRE reading comprehension strategies, and we are also going to talk about how to approach the AWA section, which is the Analytical Writing Assessment section. Let's try and make this session a bit more engaging, right? Ask me the right questions and I'll be happy to help. And any kind of questions or doubts you have, you may just put it in the chat box. And I'm sure we are going to get them addressed, right? Without further ado, let me just share my screen with you. All right. Just to start off, we'll talk about this test structure, right? Because it is important for anyone to know about the test structure and to understand what kind of sections are tested in the GRE. What is going to be the bifurcation of the question types, especially in the verbal reasoning section, because that is what we are going to focus on today. So the GRE has three sections majorly. The first section is always the Analytical Writing Assessment section, which is very popularly called as AWA. Here, the score ranges from 0 to 6 in half point increments. That means you get your scores as 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, like that. 4 is considered a good score on the AWA section, and anything above 4 is considered great, and anything below 4 is not considered as amazing, right? But please remember that the scores for AWA is not included in the actual score of GRE, which is 340. What comprises of that score are two sections, the verbal reasoning and the quantitative reasoning sections, both of which range individually from 130 to 170 in 1 point increments. That means all the questions that you see in these two sections are worth 1 point or 1 mark. Please remember that the scores are good for 5 years, which gives you the flexibility to decide whether you want to pursue higher studies immediately or not. Now, this is how the test is structured. Like we have already established, there are going to be 3 sections. The first section is always the analytical writing assessment section. That means remember that you have to write the essay first, which is what this section requires the test taker to do. And then the sections can come in any particular order. You cannot skip the sections or you cannot choose which sections you want to first. So in the AWA section, you are required to write one essay for which you'll get a total of 30 minutes. Now, how you divide the time is something that we are going to talk about when we are discussing about the AWA section, right? Now, when you come to the verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning sections, you can see that you'll have to write 2 sections for each of these skills. Now, the number of questions remain the same for both the sections, for verbal as well as quants. That is verbal, that is section 1 contains 12 questions and section 2 contains 15 questions. However, what changes is the duration that is allotted for verbal and quantitative reasoning. When you get 18 minutes to finish 12 questions in the first section and 23 minutes to finish 15 questions in the second section in verbal, you get 21 minutes to finish first section and 26 minutes to finish second section in quants. That means you get a little bit of extra time in quantitative reasoning, and that is exactly 3 minutes more or extra in both the sections, right? Which makes up for the total testing time of about 1 hour and 58 minutes. These are the followings which are available for the shorter GRE, especially from the official website, right? That is ets.org. You have one free Power Prep practice test. You have one priced Power Prep Plus practice test, and then you have something called Score It Now, which is an online writing practice that you can purchase to self-evaluate your essays for the AWA section. And then you have something called the GRE Mentor course, which is a self-paced course that, again, you need to purchase if you are someone who's preparing on their own, right? You can definitely go ahead and take the free Power Prep Plus practice test, which works as a diagnostic test. Taking the test will help you understand your readiness for the exam and how much effort, right, that you need to put in to get to a desired score. And these are certain tools that you definitely need to know of. You have an exit section tool, a calculator, a mark, and a review button. Obviously, when you click on the exit section tool, the section will be over for you and you will not be able to go back to the section. That means as long as you are within a particular section, make sure that you use the time that is allotted for the section, and then you click on this button, right? So as long as you are within a section, you are flexible to go to any question that you like and change your responses as many times as you want. Similarly, a calculator will not be needed in the verbal reasoning section. However, in the quantitative reasoning section, you will have a calculator with basic operations available. Now, when it comes to the mark button, it basically allows test takers to mark questions that they would like to come back later to during the time provided to work on that section. That means if you are finding a particular question difficult or complex for that matter, and if you find yourself spending way too much time than it is actually required for a particular question, then please mark that question, move on to the other questions. And when you click on the review button, it will sort of allow you to view a list of questions that you have marked, which kind of acts like a reminder for test takers to go back to these questions and then change your answer and then submit the section. When you go to the review page, it looks something like this. All right. Now, please remember that the GRE is section adaptive. What that means is how you perform in the first section sort of defines what kind of a section you get next. That means if you do really well in the first section, the next section will contain harder questions, but that also ensures that you get better scores. But if you perform, let's say, poorly in the first section, that means the second section contains less challenging questions or easy questions, but that will also ensure that your score is not going to be very, very high. So the harder the questions, the better the score. That's how it works. But please remember that within each section, all questions contribute equally to the final score. But even though all the questions are worth the same mark, it's also the level of difficulty of the questions that sort of define how high or how low your score is going to be, right? Please remember that GRE does not have any negative marking, so points are not deducted for any wrong answers or any unanswered question. But since there is no negative marking, it's always a better idea to guess than to leave any question unanswered, because that guess might just earn you that extra point. All right. Now that we know a little bit about, a basic information about the GRE, let's get into the actual sections that we are here to focus on, which is reading comprehension. Now, before that, obviously, you need to know what are the other question types that get tested in the verbal reasoning section as well. So if I talk about the question types in the verbal reasoning section, then there are majorly going to be two types of questions. 50% of the questions will come from vocabulary related question, and the other 50% of the questions will come from reading comprehension, basically questions that are based on reading comprehension passages. All right. Now, what exactly is reading comprehension passage? It consists of one or more associated questions. It requires the test taker to read and to understand what is read, right? All of us have seen reading comprehension questions and dealt with reading comprehension questions at some point or the other in our lives, right? But when it comes to GRE reading comprehension passages, please know that it is very important for a test taker to go slow in the beginning and to understand what are the different kind of questions that can be anticipated based on a reading comprehension passage, because these are not the same kind of passages that we dealt with when we were in our school, right? So very, very important to familiarize yourself with the kind of passages that you get in GRE. That is first. And then, of course, understanding what are the different kind of questions that are tested. So you may be asked to, recognize the purpose and the main idea of the reading passage. You may be asked to recognize specific points made in the passage. You may be asked to recognize assumptions or make inferences. And sometimes you also may be asked to, understand the purpose and structure of a passage. So these are going to be the different types of questions that you may get based on a reading comprehension passage. So just to look at it, you can get a main idea question, which will ask you the gist of the passage. Along with that, you also may get specific purpose questions, which will come from specific parts of the passage. And of course, to say the least, you'll also get inference questions. Inference questions basically asks the test taker or assesses the test taker on their skills to whether they are able to infer or reduce something based on the given context, right? Something that is not explicitly stated, but is implied in the text by the author. Now, remember that each reading comprehension passages contains all the information that you need in order to be able to answer the question. That means do not ever rely on your assumption or interpretation. Do not go beyond the scope of the passage and try to answer a question which doesn't have any proof in the passage. Why I said that is because most of us tend to do that, right? So always make sure that the correct answer that you choose has proof in the passage or it is backed by what is given in the passage. Now, what are the different type of questions that we may get on reading comprehension passages? You may get multiple choice questions with one correct answer. That means these questions will have 5 answer choices and you're always supposed to choose one correct answer. You also get multiple choice questions with one or more answer choices. So such questions will always carry 3 options, and you are always going to choose all the options that apply, right? That means such questions may have just one answer, or they may have more than one correct answers, or sometimes all 3 options may just be the correct answer. Then you get something called select the sentence in the passage. Now here you have to choose the sentence in the passage that fits a given description. A very, very important and a very specific question, which basically assesses the test taker on how precise they are in carrying out a sentence which matches the given description in the passage, right? Now, this is exactly how a multiple choice question with 5 answer choices look like. Always remember that such questions will always have 5 options. And whenever a reading comprehension question has 5 options, at once you should get to know that it will have one correct answer. And they're always going to be in oval boxes. So what is going to be the strategy for these kind of questions? Read all the answer choices before making your selection, even if you think that you know the correct answer in advance. What that means is sometimes when we are going through the options, right? Let's say that we are on option C and we kind of think that it is the correct answer and we are very sure of it. So what we do is we tend to choose this as the correct answer and we don't choose to read the rest of the options. Do not do that. Always read all the options before confirming your answer choice. That's something that's very, very important. Be careful not to be misled by answer choices that are only partially true or that only partially answer the question. Also, be careful not to pick a choice simply because it is a true statement, right? Sometimes you will see options which will carry certain terms or phrases from the passage, or the same terms or same phrases from the passage, which by looking at which you may just think that, okay, I think I have read that somewhere in the passage and it may just be the correct answer. Because what we are not thinking of is we will be in a testing environment and we will be under a lot of pressure. There is going to be time crunch as well. So just because we have read something in the passage and it comes in the question, it just pushes you to that answer, not really realizing that it is a distractor or it is a trap answer, right? So just because an option carries a true statement from the passage doesn't really mean that it's answering your question. There's a possibility that it may just come from the wrong part of the passage. So be very sure while choosing such answer choices, because 9 out of 10 times these answer choices are wrong. When the question asks about the meaning of a word in the passage, be sure that the answer choice they select correctly represents the way the word has been used in the passage. Many words have different meanings when used in different contexts. Now, what that means is GRE also tests you on vocabulary, right? And in reading comprehension passages, also you get questions related to vocabulary, which are called vocabulary in context questions. That means such questions asks you how a particular word has been used in the passage, right? In what way the word has been used in the passage. And remember that GRE never tests you on literal meaning of words. It always tests you on contextual meaning of words. So make sure you come up with the contextual meaning and not the literal one. Now, the question that you see on the screen are select all that apply questions. So here, like you can see, there are 3 answer choices and all 3 of them are in square boxes. So such questions may have just one answer or may have more than one correct answer. But remember that these questions do not carry any partial scoring. That means whenever you come up with all the correct answers, you get marked for this question. Otherwise, you do not get marked. What that means is, let's say this question has the correct options as option A and option C. You as a test taker have answered option A and option B. So what we call that is it's a partial answer, which doesn't get any scoring. Only when you come up with option A and option C as the answers, you get marked for this question. You do not get marked for partial answers. Now, this is exactly how select a sentence in the passage question looks like. It'll just be a one-liner question, which will just carry a description that this is what you have to find in one of the sentences in the passage. When you do select the sentence, it looks something like this. When you click on the beginning of that particular sentence, the whole sentence gets selected, right? You don't have to drag your cursor. And remember that you cannot select more than one sentence. So you have to be very precise in choosing which description matches the particular sentence. Now, 3 things you have to keep in mind to deal with any kind of reading comprehension passages. The topic, that means what is the topic about, right? The purpose, which is a smaller part of the topic or the main idea. That means why has the author written the passage in the first place? What exactly is does the author want you to believe in? What is the big claim the author is making in the passage? And what is the scope of the passage? What is the kind of supporting details and evidences the author has provided to back up the claim that he's made in the passage, right? So you do not need any specific subject knowledge to be able to answer questions. Anything and everything you need to answer the questions is there in the passage. So always come back to the passage to locate proof, right? It is always a good idea to map down the passage first, analyze the passage first, rather than looking at the question. Because if you are someone who comes from the question to the passage, there is a possibility that you may lose out on a lot of time, and there is a possibility that you may just choose the wrong answers, right? Why? Because when we look at the question, we tend to retain some of those keywords which we then try to look for in the given passage, and that's not the correct way, right? Anything and everything that's a true statement doesn't really strengthen the fact that it is our answer choice, correct? So it's always a good idea to understand what is going on in the passage first, to understand what all the passage has spoken, and then to make notes. That's a great idea. Something that you must follow, especially when you are in your preparation stage, right? Initial days. Take it slow, start from smaller passages, and then build your way upwards to longer passages. But nowadays, we have seen a pattern where we do not get any longer passages in GRE, especially since the time the GRE has been shortened, right? So you can expect the longest passage to be about 300 words, which is not a very long passage, right? So read the passage and get a sense of its overall meaning and purpose. Break it down. Try to understand what is the detail provided in each and every sentence, or where the author is making a claim. Once you have the claim, then you can expect, supporting details or evidences right after. So try to focus on the language of the passage, and that way you will be able to understand the author's tone, right? Whether the author agrees or disagrees with the claim, right? Note keywords and phrases and try to clarify what is being expressed. Note which claims the author makes and which are made by the others and merely described by the author. Note whether the author is hypothesizing something or maintaining something with some certainty. When answering reading comprehension questions, test takers should make sure to understand what the question is asking. Always important to understand the task of the question, because if I do not know what kind of a question I am answering, I will never know or understand what the approach should be. So always understand the task of the question, and that will only come to you when you get yourself familiarized with the question stems. Answer strictly on the basis of what the passage says. You should not rely on outside knowledge. Do not select an answer simply because it is a true statement, something that we have spoken about. And do not select an answer choice just because it is, partially correct. What that means is sometimes based on your prediction, you might see an answer choice which carries a part of your prediction, but then the other part doesn't match with your prediction, right? So that answer choice is not the apt answer choice, and we cannot choose it to be the correct answer. So when answering main idea questions, make sure that your answer is all-inclusive, something that addresses to the passage as a whole and is not very specific. It should not address to specific parts of the passage. At the same time, when you're answering specific purpose questions, make sure that your answer choice is not very conclusive or generic in nature. Make sure that it is specific and it is addressing to the task of the question, and it is coming from that part of the passage where the question comes from. At the same time, when you're answering inference questions, make sure that your answer is based on what the passage says and not something that you think is true, right? Never ever go beyond the scope of the passage and try to club it up with some assumption or interpretation that you have made, because that way you will definitely come up with the wrong answer. Also, one thing that we tend to do with inference question is we tend to overthink a lot, right? And that is where we go wrong. Ask yourself the right questions. Be very, very direct in your approach, especially towards an inference question, and you will surely get the correct answer. So this is the step. These are the steps you follow in answering reading comprehension questions. So first step, always work with the passage. Keep in mind that you have to come up with the author's claim, which is nothing but the main idea. Always try and look for a bold and a challenging statement being made, right? And that is what is going to be the main idea of the passage. When it comes to the structure, remember that most reading comprehension passages fall under two categories or two structure. Either it'll be a triangle or it'll be an inverted triangle. What that means is, if it is a triangle, then the passage may just start with the main idea or the bigger claim of the passage, and then it is followed by relevant details or supporting details. When it is an inverted triangle, then the passage may just start with relatively lesser important details or evidences, which in turn might lead to the main idea. So there are only two places that you will almost always find the main idea in. It could be either in the beginning of the passage or at the end of a passage, right? Very important to find the author's side as well, whether the author agrees or disagrees with the claim. Second step is to understand the subject of the question and the task of the question, right? Whether it is a main idea question or a specific purpose question or an inference question for that matter. Step 3, find the information in the passage that addresses the task of the question. Like I said, every other question will need proof from the passage, not from your mind, right? So make sure that the answer that you choose has a clear-cut proof in the passage. And step 4 is something that is very important, which is the process of elimination, under which we have some tools. So based on these tools, you will be able to eliminate answer choices. Make sure that you follow this process. Elimination is key, especially in reading comprehension questions. What we tend to do is we always go to the options thinking which could be my correct answer, which is a very wrong way of approaching. What you should rather think is, what are the answers I can for sure eliminate? I can definitely eliminate. What that will do is that will make the correct answer pop out even more. What that means is, it is going to be definitely easy for you to choose your correct answer from 2 options rather than from 5 options. So always cut off the irrelevant answers or the bad answers first, and then it'll be easy for you to understand which one is a more concise option versus the other. So we have talked about recycle language, which is nothing but options that make use of the same exact statements or phrases from the passage to trap the reader. Then you have something called extreme language. Now, such answer choices will always make use of extreme words or absolutes to make the claim even stronger than it already is in the passage. So that's something that you need to stay away from. There are some options which are going to use comparison language, right? Now, remember that any option that makes use of comparison language, 9 out of 10 times such answer choices are going to be wrong. Why? Because the two things that are being compared, the options, may not really have been compared in the actual passage. They may have been just merely mentioned by the author, not necessarily to get compared, right? Next is reversals. Very simple. It's obviously states the opposite of what you're looking for. So obviously we are going to eliminate that. And then outside knowledge or emotional appeals, basically any and every answer choice makes use of new information, information that the passage is not privy to. We are going to eliminate that because those are completely out of scope. Sometimes we may think that this could be the correct answer, but then ask yourself, does the passage have proof of this? Right? If you have proof, then yes, you may just go for that answer choice. But if it doesn't have proof, then you cannot choose that as the correct answer. Right? I hope the steps are clear. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you a short passage. And then I'm going to just tell you how to do a question, right? We may not do a lot of questions, but I'm just going to show you how to go about one of the question types. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions, please feel free to post it in the chat. Hi, Shraddha. Let me know what question you have. Okay, so as you look at this passage, you know that please understand that most of the passages will start with a background information. A background information is nothing but, um, you know, an information or a statement which introduces the topic to you. By reading that, you get to understand what the passage is really going to be about and what you can later expect in the passage. So in the first sentence here, you can understand that it is talking about Proto-Aryan languages being derived at the same place. All the Proto-Aryan languages being derived at the same place. But then when you come to the second line, it says that while it is known that Latin began as a rustic dialect, in the province of Latium, no one really knows what that place is. That means here also, if you look at the first and the second statement, you can see that there is a point of commonality, which is the Proto-Aryan languages and their origin. So in the first sentence, we know that these languages originated at the same place, but then the second sentence is where the author comes ahead to make a claim that we don't know what the place is or what the origin is for these languages. And then the author gives you all sort of supporting details as to which could be the origins, right? Um, and then if you look at the last sentence, it says that Though this language has strayed far from its birthplace, it preserves many of the characteristics discarded by those who remain behind. That means the author is telling you that languages have this ability of moving from place to place. Just because a language originates at a certain place does not mean that it stays there forever. It has the ability to stray, right? So languages are never fixed. Now, we know that the claim the author makes here is that um, even though the Proto-Aryan languages have all derived or have all been derived at the same place, we still don't know what the origin is, right? Where they had been derived. Now, that is exactly what we are looking for when we are doing a primary purpose question. Now, if you look at this question, which asks you the primary purpose of the passage, please know that the author's claim is something that will always make up for the proof for a primary purpose question. So can you tell me what could be the answer here? So Shraddha is asking a small clarification. A test paper link has been shared. Should we need to fill this right now or after this session? I think Sahil, you can help here.
Hey, yeah, Shraddha, like you can use the link after the session. You can just have it with Rituparna, you can continue.
I'm sorry?
You can continue.
Sure, yeah. Excuse me. All right, Aryan, great. Yes, in fact, the answer is going to be option D here, which matches with whatever prediction we came up with, right? The author claims something and then gives you all possible origins for the birthplace of Proto-Aryan by questioning some possible points of origin. And that is what is exactly happening, right? So this is how you do a primary purpose question. I'll just show you one more question, which is a vocabulary and context question. Can you tell me what the answer is going to be here? Absolutely, that's correct, Ali. Yes, it is birthplace, right? Um, Cradle, potential cradle, that means potential origin or birthplace of these Proto-Aryan languages. This is how you do these questions. Amazing. I think now let us move to AWA. I'll tell you how exactly you should approach an AWA section. Please remember that if you are someone who reads a lot, who, if you are a voracious reader, then you're definitely going to do tremendously well in this section. Because when you read a lot, you get a lot of exposure to vocabulary, to ideas, to to sort of extend or elaborate on any particular topic. But if you are someone who doesn't read a lot, start reading, I would say. Start with reading sample responses of AWA essays, and you will get an idea about what is going on, right? That will help you then just sit down and jot down a few points. Remember that from the very beginning, you will not be able to write a very comprehensive, fancy essay. It will take you some time, so you have to be consistent again, right? What does this assesses you on? It assesses your critical thinking and analytical writing skills. There is one timed writing task, which is analyze an issue task. It requires the test taker to analyze an issue and develop the same with reasons and examples to support your position. Remember that you have to type these essays because GRE is a computer mode test, right? So you have to type. Why is knowing that important? Because as in when you're preparing for the AWS section also, I would suggest always type on a computer. So, your typing speed increases and you're making less and less typing errors. So that helps. Basic functions include inserting text, deleting text, cut, paste, and undoing the previous action. You will not have any grammar checker or any spell checker for that matter. That means you will have to have some time left so that you can read through your essay and proofread your essay and may just rectify whatever minor lapses or mistakes you think you may have made. Now, what does this essay ask you, right? It presents a brief quotation that states or implies an issue of general interest and specific instructions on how to respond to that issue. It requires the test taker to analyze the issue and develop an argument with reasons and examples to support that position. You have a total of 30 minutes to plan and compose your response. A response to an issue other than the one assigned will receive a score of 0. Now, remember that the issue essay that you get will be very general in nature, in the sense that you will be able to talk about it. It's nothing that'll be unknown to you. And most of the times, the issue essays are going to be vague. That means you will not be able to have a clear stand on the topic. That means you'll feel like, okay, I agree to some parts of the topic and I also disagree to some extent as well. But that is exactly what you're not supposed to do. This is an opinion-based task, and it asks you to choose your position on the topic. So whatever you choose should matter, or it doesn't matter in that case. That means, please know that no side is a bad side. There is nothing called a perfect answer in any kind of opinion-based task. So whatever side you choose, make sure that you stick to it and you strengthen it and develop it by providing the best of the examples that you have got. So these are some of the prompts for the issue essay. You can just take a look at that. Remember, no matter what the prompt is, you need to have a basic structure for your issue essay or any kind of essay for that matter. That means the structure should have at least 5 paragraphs, out of which there is one introduction, obviously in the beginning, one conclusion, and whatever you have in between are called body paragraphs. Please brainstorm at least 3 examples for your issue essay, and solid examples, right? Cogent examples and compelling examples. So each of these examples will go in each of the paragraphs. If you think you can brainstorm more examples, well and good, you can go ahead for the 4th example as well. So 5 paragraphs is the minimum, but if you think that you can write more and you can develop more, then you are welcome. You can write many more paragraphs than that. All right. Now, what about the scoring? Scoring, like I said, ranges from 0 to 6 in half-point increments. 4 is considered a good score. 6 is obviously considered outstanding. What can we expect in a score 6 essay? That it'll be perfect, right? You will not see major grammatical mistakes. The number of errors will be very, very less. There will be great demonstration of vocabulary, ideas. There'll be great development, usage of language, transitions, idiomatic words and phrases. Everything will be right on point in a score 6 essay. Now, 4 is also considered a good score. So what can we find different in a score 4 essay when compared to a score 6 essay? Now, obviously, the number of errors will be more in a score 4 essay. The length will be shorter. In score 4, the examples that you may see in a score 4 essay will not be as compelling or solid as a score 6 essay. There will be not a great level of development in a score 4 essay. At the same time, the vocabulary that you see will not be GRE level vocabulary. That means very simple English vocabulary will be used to develop ideas in a score 4 essay. But the intelligibility is there. That means the test taker has addressed the task of the question that it makes sense. The answer substantiates the test taker position on the issue, and everything makes sense, which is why it has attracted a score 4, right? That is the only difference between a score 4 essay and a score 6 essay. So like I said, you must respond to the assigned issue using the specific task directions. Feel free to accept, reject, or qualify the claim. It doesn't matter if you choose or not choose a particular side. Don't think that, okay, this is a bad side and the grader might just, be biased. There is nothing sort of that thing that happens. You must make it clear how your reasons and examples support your position on the issue. That means you have to really think of relevant and convincing examples. Remember that there is no right answer. Always differentiate both the sides. In any kind of opinion-based task, there are two sides, the yes side and the no side. Once you differentiate both the sides, then try to brainstorm examples for both the sides. Once you have come up with the examples, you can take a call on which side of the examples are more compelling or more solid than the other. And ideally, that should be the side or position that you should be choosing. Make sure that whatever examples you come up with, you are comfortable developing them. All right. So yeah, this is something that we have already spoken about. What can we expect in a score 6 essay? It sustains an insightful, in-depth analysis of complex ideas, develops and supports main points with logically compelling reasons and highly persuasive examples. It is focused and well organized. It skillfully uses sentence variety and precise vocabulary to convey meaning effectively. It demonstrates superior facility with sentence structure and language usage, but it may have some minor errors that do not interfere with the meaning. What can you expect in a score 4 essay? It provides competent analysis of complex ideas, develops and supports main points with relevant reasons and examples. It is adequately organized, conveys meaning with reasonable clarity, demonstrates satisfactory control of sentence structure and language usage, but it may have some minor errors that affect clarity. Now, what can you expect in a lower score essay? It will display serious weaknesses in analytical writing. The writing is seriously flawed in at least one of the following ways. It will have serious lack of analysis or development, lack of organization, serious and frequent problems in sentence structure or language usage with errors that obscure the meaning. That means just understand it in this way, right? Score 4, 5, 6 are considered upper half scores in the sense that all the responses are demonstrated in terms of what has been done well in the essay. At the same time, score 3, 2, 1 are considered lower half scores, all demonstrated in terms of what has not been done well in the essay. That means in score 3, 2, 1 responses, you'll always find the test taker's position to be vague. They'll not have a clear stand on the issue, right? But in a score 4, 5, and 6 responses, you'll always find a clear stance of the test taker on the issue. So that is how the scoring works. All right. I think I'm pretty much done with my part of the presentation. I think I'm okay to take any question that you may have. I think you can start asking your questions. I think there's a question from Ali. He says, kindly have more reading comprehension, more comprehension. What exactly about comprehension you want to know, Ali? Do you have any specific question that can be addressed?
So hi guys, you can start posting your questions. So Rituparna will start taking the questions also. I request everyone to start posting your questions in the chat box. Until then, I would like to give Rituparna a couple of minutes of break where I wanted to share something about Galvanize and what we have for you this Christmas and this New Year. So yeah. So Galvanize Global Education Assistance for your study abroad journey. What we do, we have top ranked mobile apps for GRE, SAT, and vocabulary with users from 195 plus countries and more than 1 million plus downloads. We have our online test prep for your GRE, TOEFL, SAT. Customers from 65 plus countries have chosen Galvanize. Where if you enroll with us, like there's an average score improvement of 20% from where you start. Apart from that, we have an online admission counseling services for you where we help you to get your dream degree abroad, either it's master's, doctorate, MBA. Customers from 20 plus countries have chosen this, and 99% of the students have received the admits to 140 plus specialization across 16 plus countries. So perks and advantages of our test prep courses, it's completely personalized. You can ask unlimited questions, in-depth analytics and feedback, personalized AWS scoring, full and GRE practice test, and many practice questions. Apart from that, we have the latest and the updated test pattern. It's most affordable, complete solution, know where you stand, easy way to learn, and expert guidance is available 24 into 7. Up next, this is our procedure for our admission counseling, like right from your onboarding, university shortlisting, documentations, visas, financing, and pre-departure services. So up next, like for this Christmas and New Year, Galvanize is giving a 25% off on all our services. So I request everyone to fill up the profile evaluation form, which is present right away. I have also shared the link in the chat box. So I request everyone to fill up the profile evaluation form so that you can avail the 25% discount on all Galvanize services. So I'll again share the link on the chat box. Go ahead, fill it up, avail a discount.
Can I take a question, Sahil?
Yes, you can.
All right. So Ali is asking how exactly do we have the reading comprehension answers perfected in quick time? Honestly, the answer to that is practice. Practice is key. Like I said, if you are someone who's starting your preparation now, recently, please take it slow. Start with smaller passages. Go sentence by sentence. Do not be too hasty in reading the passage. The most amount of time you should spend in analyzing the passage and breaking down the passage and only extracting those information which you think is the most important, divided in functions, right? Which one is a claim? After a claim is made, you can find out the evidences, of course. That's the logic behind it, right? Once you have everything ready on your scratch paper, then go to the questions. Never go to the questions first. Okay, you will make mistakes, but you will learn. Go slow, do not be overwhelmed. Don't try to do a lot of reading comprehension passages in one day. Do 5, but then do it slowly and do them well, and it is going to help you in the long run. And like you said, how to answer the questions quickly is something that will come with time, never in the first 15 days or a month. Doesn't happen with anyone. Did I answer that question for you, Ali? Any other questions from anyone?
There is a question from Solomon, like how can time be managed appropriately while in the reading comprehension section?
A good question. So let's say that the first section contains 12 questions, right? I'm just taking the first section to give you an example and you can understand how it works. So I told you that 50% of the questions will come from vocabulary and the other 50 will come from reading comprehension and critical reasoning. From critical reasoning, you may get about just 1 or 2 maximum questions. From vocabulary, you can expect about 5 questions in in the first section. Vocabulary questions are questions which require the least time, because those are like maths questions. If you know the word, you get the answer. If you don't know the word, uh, you can't guess. Guessing can only take you too far, right? So 30 to 45 seconds should be the window for answering a vocabulary question. So if you're talking about at least 5 questions in the first section, take 5 minutes. All right. Not all the questions will take you 30 seconds or 45 seconds. There'll be 1 or 2 questions which are going to be a little complex, let's say. So even if you give 1 minute maximum for each question, you can take 5 minutes to answer all the vocabulary questions. After you are done with the vocabulary questions in the first 5 minutes, then you have all the time, all the rest of the time that you can use to analyze reading comprehension passages. Take about 2 to 3 minutes analyzing the passage, breaking down the passage, and then you will be able to effectively answer the questions.
I guess there are no. Is there any question to you if they have messaged you directly?
Yeah, okay, yes, but yet to be quick enough when reading the comprehension well. What strategies will optimize reading, comprehension, understanding, and answering? Honestly, it comes with time. If you believe me or do not believe me, I'm not sure, but it comes with time. You cannot be hasty while you're reading a passage, especially in the beginning. Because most of us have problems with attention span, right? Especially these days with all these Instagram reels and YouTube shorts coming in. Our attention span is just 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Let's just address that. Let's be very, very real, right? So when we are asked to, most of us have stopped reading for that matter. So when it comes to a reading comprehension passage, most of you freak out like, oh my God, how are we going to deal with a passage? It is boring and it is this and that, all sorts of things. So first of all, for the first 15 days, target understanding the passage. Pacing should not be something that you should focus on in the first 15 days. Once you develop that pace of reading and once you develop that interest to read, then pacing will automatically come. It is going to be a byproduct. Trust me on that. Any other question that you have, Ali? And also the question that you're asking about pacing, it doesn't have a fixed answer, to be honest. It comes with experience, with time. There's no magic to answer or to read a passage very, very quickly. Understanding the passage is where what takes the cake. You're welcome. Any other questions?
I guess there are no more questions over here. So yeah, that's it, Rupana. Thank you for joining on a Christmas Eve.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
Thanks, guys.
Always a
Thanks for
pleasure.
joining this wonderful session. Merry Christmas to everyone. And we have shared the link of the Christmas discount of 25% off on all Galvanize services. You can fill up the form, get in touch with one of our counselors, and we'll give you the best deal possible. Thanks, Rupana.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and a great New Year, and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you.